We had so many conversations. We'll just say what opened up for you this week. Well, we won't.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that was live too. Awesome. So thank you for the start. Hello, everybody. We are live.
Hi, everybody.
Janet and Chikako. We have been sharing about business expansion with feminine energy, and this is our fourth, I think, fourth episode. So we
Yeah.
continue to share about feminine energy. And last week, I think we talked about receiving and allowing.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Have you been? Okay, well, since it was receive and allowing, I'm curious, did you make a conscious effort to receive and allow, or you were just naturally in that space last week?
It was actually, well, I intended, so naturally something happened. Uh, so my husband like acknowledged me, like really, like, okay, turn off your TV and look at me. I want to
Mm.
acknowledge you. So he expresses how he's grateful and for what's been happening, what I've been creating, and where we are now after 1 year of living in Japan. And then, so like he's really tearing up and really like he's present to the magic that we have been creating. And then so it's time for me to receive that acknowledgement, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm like being funny and like the
I would have loved to be the fly on the wall to see that conversation. So, so what else? So you were like trying to uh divert this vulnerable conversation with funniness,
yes,
and
yeah.
what was going through in your mind at that time?
I think it's just uncomfortable to be, so receiving is also like makes you vulnerable, right? So like really uncomfortable uh for being vulnerable, I think.
Because because of what I'm hearing is your husband really seeing, what is the word, the greatness in you, or like really seeing the space that you provided for the both of you for all this magic to happen. Like he
Hmm.
was thanking you for that.
Yeah.
And it's like, could you accept that for yourself? It's more so like you heard what he say, but could you see that for yourself? Or was
Right.
this like cuteness, funniness was diverting you from like seeing the truth?
Yeah, I think I wasn't denying or anything. Like, yeah, that's been amazing. But I think at the same time, I have like I could have done better or I could have done more or something. Like what
Mhm.
I did was okay, kind of you know, like I'm
Yeah.
not denying it, but I'm not acknowledging fully.
You couldn't just simply say thank you.
Yeah, and I know the magic word thank you. Even though I feel uncomfortable to receive, I say thank you instead of no, 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 that's nothing. You know, with that uncomfortable feeling, I said thank you.
Hmm.
So yeah, I wanted to share that too. Like thank you is really a magic word to receive, even though like you have like, uncomfortable or resisting, just say thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a start to really receive and allow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's beautiful. I'm sure a lot can relate to that. Yeah.
Yeah, like having somebody in your life who can acknowledge like that is really a gift, I think.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't want to take that lightly, and it's a practice for me to acknowledge myself through, somebody acknowledging me.
Mhm.
Because it's like if you say no, or what I did is nothing, and that means that someone wants to, give you a gift, and
Mhm.
then you say no, thank you, you don't have to give me a gift.
Yeah,
We that.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Mhm.
What do you think gave you access to receiving it more than you normally do?
Sorry, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, what do you think gave you access to receiving that acknowledgement more now than how you would have normally received it?
I think, this conversation, like this goal lives, like we've been discussing, and it helps me to remind myself and to be aware. And
Yeah,
okay, so I take this on, I say that, so it goes to my subconscious, and I don't have to remember it here, in my subconscious. Okay, I took that on, so it just shows up for me in a moment.
yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. So that's why we do okay, I love that because that's why we do have these conversations, right? So people can hear the conversation and be aware of how we respond and how we're operating.
Mhm.
To be able to truly see the difference between masculine and feminine and how it's more impactful to lead with the
Mhm.
femininity.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I just remember another um, situation who really acknowledged me. It's a dance friend, and I would have usually, you know, kind of resist again. But this time, I kind of I accept it and thank you again. Say thank you, and it feels good to
Yeah,
do that
yeah,
because resisting is really tiring. It,
right.
yeah, it's familiar. It's something that I'm used to do, but it's tiring.
Mm. Speaking of which, I just realized like when I did the live mastermind for like 2,000 people last week,
Oh
and then
yeah,
I had
yeah.
messages of people acknowledging me, including you, and I think I deflected some of it now that I think about it.
Oh.
'Cause I always for some I don't know if it's operating out of masculine or not, but I truly feel like I would not be the person I am today had it not been for you and, like, every single person in my life. So when people send me a nice message of who I am or whatever it may be, well, I'm like, "Well, thank you," and it wouldn't have happened without you as well. Like, I always wanna give credit where it is due. Um and I don't know if that's a deflecting or I should be receiving more or whatever it may be, but that just popped up that I thought I'd share.
Mm. Wow. So when I sent you the message, I didn't feel that, like I felt that you received.
Mm,
Yeah. So just so you know.
okay, good.
Yes. Yeah, that was really amazing.
Good. Well,
Yeah.
what I really got present to this week, I guess, with like, various of coaching calls that I do for people is that I had a talk with my spiritual mentor and, he says, he is someone who's so inspiring. Like he used to drink, used to be like a drinking, like a alcoholic. And
Mm.
he was a smoker for like 30 years or whatever it may be. But now he's been like 50 years alcohol free, 45 years smoking free. Right. But it's like that moment when you choose to commit to something, or like, this is like the self love that you have for yourself. Like it's so strong for him that it doesn't matter who comes in the way, he will never have that drink for that person, right? And another example is like the loyalty of like that you have for your husband and vice versa, right? You choose to commit to someone and no one can come in the way of that. And
Mm.
but then for some reason, when it comes to loving yourself or saying you'll give yourself 10 minutes of quiet time or something like that, something comes in the way and you forget to do it completely. So my question is like, everyone says that they have self-love and they love themselves, but let's be honest, they always put people before them way before they put themselves. And it's so crazy to think that because, yeah, I say self-love for myself. I travel, I spend all this money on food and do all these things. But when it comes to the hard, nitty-gritty things, I will always put people first.
Mm.
And so, how could we, like, I had another call with a person, and I asked her if she put 10 minutes aside. We both agreed. We both took responsibility for not doing it. And also, like, oh, did you put 10 minutes aside for your quiet time, for your me time? And she couldn't do it. And her excuse was, I had my in-laws over and I feel like I need to cater to them and stuff. I'm like, so you're telling me you couldn't put 10 minutes aside, even like sitting on the toilet for an extra 5 minutes to give yourself that alone time? And I'm like, what happened? But like, if it was your husband, you would do everything to make sure he had that alone time. And she was so shocked on how she was treating herself.
Mm. So she
And
wasn't even aware.
huh? Say, you got
She
cut off.
wasn't aware that she was doing that.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's like for someone, you would it's only 10 minutes. You will do anything to make sure they get that 10 minutes, but for yourself, you just put it under the rug. And so imagine is what I want you to get present to is like imagine that impact that that has, that domino impact, that wiring sense of whatever you're living through. Like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to put all these people before me. Imagine all of those conversations that you're operating on a daily basis, how that looks like in your world.
Yeah.
Although, you think 10 minutes is not a lot, but imagine how it shows up in your business. Imagine
Mhm.
how that shows up in your daily tasks. Imagine how it shows up in your everything
Mhm.
when you don't put yourself first. It's like people wonder why things don't work for them. It's like, yeah, it could be, because you're doing things with a glass half full.
Mm. It's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that, creating that world of being feminine and masculine. So I took this seminar last week,
Mhm.
and they were totally talking about the same thing, you
Mm,
know, explaining about, with the cup, being filled with water. And they 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 created that. So promises. So you have promises with others, right? And what percentage you make that promise?
mhm.
And the facilitator was asking everybody, and the number was pretty high, like 80% and 90%. The promise with others. And how about the promise with yourself? What's the percentage? Like, how much do you like make the promise with yourself? And the number was low, like 30%,
Wow.
40%, right? Less than 50.
Yeah.
So, put yourself last is really like breaking the promise with yourself, right? Because, well, I can't speak for other people, like what kind of promise you have with yourself, but nobody has a promise to, sacrifice yourself,
Yeah.
right? Essentially. So that was really interesting. And he was saying that's the only way to make a promise with yourself and keep doing that consistently is the only way to gain. He used the word confidence
Mm.
or trust yourself.
Yeah.
And when he creates like that, I'm like, oh my god, so true. Yeah. So I've been really focusing on that.
So how does that look like when you're focusing on that? What promises are you making?
Yeah, so this guy was saying that it's really simple thing, can be simple thing, can be anything, because it's about making the promise. The promise itself, it doesn't matter. It can be something really simple and small, but
Mhm.
making the promise is every time you make the promise, you gain, wow, like I like myself, I trust myself.
Yeah.
So this guy was saying that, in Japan we say itadakimasu and gotsu sama before and after eating. So he says I verbally say it. Doesn't matter. Like when I'm eating a restaurant by myself, I still verbally say it, and people look at me and like what is he saying by himself? But I don't care. Like that's my practice to make the promise to myself. So he said he's doing that for 20 years.
Wow, I love that.
Mhm. So I have two things that I took on. Yuri. Oh, speaking of, I said that and I forgot to do that. I did one thing, and then I said, okay, so I'm gonna pray. So we have this little shrine. So we be so pray every morning, and then after that, little movement. Small wrestlers, they. I don't know if you watch sumo, but they have like certain movement to really ground themselves.
Mhm.
Called shiko. So I do that 10 times after. So that's my promise. It really helps me to ground
Yeah,
myself.
I love that.
So it can be anything.
Yeah, I truly believe that it's the little things that make you trust yourself because sometimes people choose such big grandiose kind of goals or whatever, and then it doesn't happen. And then what happens? They just don't make any more promises or anything like that because they don't trust that they will do it, right?
Mhm.
So it's all a matter of, yeah, doing that. I'm gonna do a promise where I'm gonna jump up and down 10 times a day. The lymphatic, or it's just good to jump, up
Mhm.
and down, once a day. So I'll do that. Mm,
That's beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, it
Did
was
he
a
s
really amazing thing to realize. And then he was saying that so when you make your cup full
Yeah.
by making your promise, if you don't do it, this cup won't be full. So, but you still want to make it full. So, what you do is asking, like, looking for external acknowledgement. So you
Like,
want
what
acknowledgement. You need the acknowledgement from other people. Acknowledge me, and then okay, so my cup is full. But you're not doing that for yourself, so you always have to look for external thing to make it full. So when you're doing that, they say, he said, like this cup start to have holes and it leaks.
mm,
But if you do it for yourself, make the promise for yourself and make the cup full, you actually attract other people's acknowledgement, but that overflows your cup. So guess what you want to do? You want to share this with other people.
mhm,
So this is real giving.
mhm,
Your cup is full and then you want to give.
mm,
Your happiness or abundance, whatever you have, is overflowing and you want to share with others.
yeah,
So I thought that was really great
I love that.
explanation. Yeah.
And that's what I like that. I think that's a good metaphor as well. When you're in your feminine, your presence just overflows, right?
Mm-hmm.
People just feel it. People just want what you have. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the perfect example of how that looks like and how to get there. Did he say why people don't give themselves like, why is it that people like you said, for your promises to yourself, it's 30%, but why is it always like 110% if it's like your significant other or like your dog or something, like the way that we love our dog and the way we show up for our dog, it's like no one can come in between that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was not saying it, but he was asking all of us like why we do that. It's a coaching. It was a coaching style, so he was asking us lots of questions, and then everybody was answering like because it bothers other people if I
Mm,
make promise with others, right? And Japanese people tend to be like that too, like don't bother other people.
mhm. Don't bother other people.
Yeah, That's really strong.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's a culture thing. Yeah. I find Japanese people were like just extremely beyond polite and
Yeah, it could be.
yeah,
But that's, I, for me, something inauthentic about it, like in order to,
right.
yeah, it's a lot of, yeah, inauthenticity. I can see that too.
Mm,
Yeah. Afraid of something, afraid of judgment. Yeah, lots of, judgment because we have lots of rules.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what I'm hearing is to really find it doesn't matter if you are nice or polite in the world or you're blunt and abrupt. Actually, blunt and abrupt could actually be more authentic than being nice because at least that person is speaking their true voice of what they're thinking.
Hmm.
And where was I going with that? Ah, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah. And then, this kind of practice is really, really valuable because of that kind of environment we can transform by, practicing honoring ourselves and, yeah, receiving and allowing and really find a value.
Totally.
Of,
So what we yeah, of course. Sorry, keep going.
yeah, value of who we are.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So asking yourself the questions like you said earlier, what are the 3 questions we can leave them with? Like, "Why am I doing this?"
Hmm.
And catch yourself if you're doing something in order to, that's still inauthentic, right? And then what's like the last question that they can ask themselves for the week just so they can get present to like, are they filling up their cup or are they poking holes in their cup?
Mm.
Yeah, what's the last question we could ask them? So it's like, why am I doing this? Am I doing it in order to dot dot dot? And what would be the last question that would be good clarity for them? Would you say?
Um, so what's the promise that I want to make for
Okay.
myself?
Love that. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
set that easy promise. It could be as simple as giving yourself 1 minute a day of quiet time, honestly. Like, I don't want people to stress about another thing to do. It's
Mhm.
just once you build that muscle, that promise muscle for yourself,
Mhm.
it's a domino effect. And yeah.
So I'm writing down those 3 questions. Can you please repeat that? The first question is, why am I doing this?
Yeah. Why am I doing this? And then the second question is, am I doing it in order to dot dot dot?
Am I doing it in order to? I don't know if everybody understand what that means. If you
So
can.
so for example, like say like what you just said earlier, like or here, let me give an example of myself. Like say I will agree to go somewhere even though I don't want to because I feel bad. Like
Mhm.
I'm just doing it in order to uh like yeah, in order to go because I feel bad. So I'm not actually thinking of myself, I'm thinking for others. So it's like look at yourself where you're doing something because you feel bad or because you feel guilty or and that's all poking holes into yourself. You're not filling up your cup, you're abandoning yourself. So, this conversation is really about not abandoning yourself and filling up your cup and truly that self-love. Self-love is not more makeup, more spa dates, more money. It's none of that. It's before that. All of that comes after because your cup is full.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
Thank you.
thank
Thank you.
you.
So that's it for today, Janet.
Yep.
It was a long live today, 24 minutes.
Wow.
Awesome. Thank you so much for watching and participating this Fun Go Live. So I wrote down those 3 questions. So please, if you wanna, you know, practice it, which is so. I have to tell you, like this is so amazing. this practice will really change who you are being and being feminine. And
Yeah.
if you're a guy, I still practice. This is for everyone, not just for women. It's really a beautiful practice. So
Yeah, honoring yourself.
yeah.
No.
hmm Great. So are we doing this one more time? This go
Yeah.
live? Yes. So we're gonna
One.
come back next week, and yeah, please comment with what you're taking on and what you want to share. That'd be great. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you, Janet.
Thank you, Chikako.